Let's talk about OpenSSL. Assuming that I don't get bored of this format in a week, OpenSSL will have a history on this show of being my punching bag, alongside libcurl. I'll get to libcurl eventually. I'm subscribed to a few cybersecurity newsletters, and I have to say, I've seen OpenSSL's name in there more times than adverbs. The codebase is buggier than an Australian's backyard, with enough bad practices to equate to 3 whole Microsofts. It's so bad, every major web browser invented their own form of SSL just so they don't have to go through OpenSSL. That doesn't mean OpenSSL still isn't used quite often in the wild. Let's talk about why 2 major companies expended precious development time to create their own version of an existing product, just because that existing product sucked so much. What is OpenSSL? You see, in the old days of the internet, people sent data back and forth. But then they realized it was very easy for attackers to intercept their communications and see all of their data. They created SSL as a protocol to encrypt their data. OpenSSL was an implementation of SSL that grew in popularity, being used in just about everything. Then people started to realize it had more holes than Swiss cheese, so most of them switched to other SSL implementations. Most of them. The obvious starting point is Heartbleed. I very rarely see software vulnerabilities like this hit national news. Usually it's about some individual corporation messing up their network architecture or something. That should tell you how big this was. SSL was broken. The entire internet was now unsafe. If you logged into your Cartoon Network account, hackers would know your password and everything about you before you could even say Ben 10. And this was all because OpenSSL forgot to check the length of some strings. This was the incident that made all the web browsers and such switch to their own things, and everyone else decided to give users the option of OpenSSL or something more sensible. But that's not the only incident. It's far from the only incident. According to CVE details, over OpenSSL's 20-ish years of history, there have been about 10 vulnerabilities fixed per year. That's about 1 vulnerability every month. You might say, hey, that's pretty good for the most used OpenSSL implementation that has a million eyes on it. But keep in mind, there are hundreds of bugs in OpenSSL that get fixed silently, without anyone really knowing about said fix. This means no one's updating their OpenSSL version. Each of those bugs is a potential vulnerability in the making. Let's talk about some of those vulnerabilities that ended up getting made. In the past week, as I'm writing this, 3 vulnerabilities were found. You have a null pointer being dereferenced, which can lead to the entire server crashing, as well as a vulnerability for rollback attacks and an integer overflow that are less major. These 3 vulnerabilities were patched, but it really shows how many vulnerabilities are still hiding in OpenSSL, just waiting to be a news story. The moral of the story here isn't don't use OpenSSL. You may want to consider alternatives to OpenSSL, but remember to look before you leap. OpenSSL's certainly come a long way since Heartbleed, and one of the reasons so many vulnerabilities have been found is because there are just so many eyes on it. I'm sure that the folks that replace OpenSSL would have quite a few more vulnerabilities if they were used as often. The real lesson here is that all software is broken. Yes, there are reported bugs in OpenSSL that aren't fixed. In most cases, OpenSSL is the best you can do. Keep that in mind. There's so much software out there that's just being held together with duct tape, just waiting to be a part of some big security breach. Even when the bugs are fixed, there's no guarantee that they'll be wheeled out to the world straight away, meaning those vulnerabilities still exist in your computer. That's why I'm scared of technology.